Welcome to And Now It's a Crisis, a podcast that looks at scandals, disasters, and reputational threats and how your brand can avoid falling victim to them. I'm Andrea Obston. I've been a crisis communications manager for over 4 decades, and I'm here to help you survive and ultimately thrive after a crisis. Okay, let's jump into And Now It's a Crisis. Let's suppose you are the director of communications for a software company that helps their clients schedule and monitor data. Since its founding in 2018, it has attracted significant venture funding. Yet most people outside the data engineering space do not know your name. That is until your CEO and head of HR are caught on the kiss cam at a Coldplay concert. Now your company's name is on everybody's lips and everyone's phone, and not because of your awesome products. And now, it's a crisis. I'm Andrea Obston, a veteran crisis communications manager. Welcome to the second episode of And Now, It's a Crisis. In our first episode, we talked about how the need to respond to a crisis quickly can make or break a situation. In this episode, we'll look at the flip side. What happens when you wait too long to respond to a steaming pile of poop? Stay with us after the break for tips on developing a timely crisis response and positioning your company as the voice of reason before the rest of the world runs away with the narrative. This podcast is brought to you by Project Podcast. They made it so easy to launch. They set me up to record right from home. I just log in, record, and they take care of the rest of it. As a marketing consultant, I found podcasting to be a valuable tool for reaching prospects and converting them into clients. Project Podcast's video-first approach helps my clients relate to their customers and prospects on a more personal level. If you want to grow your business and connect with your audience, I recommend checking out Project Podcast. They make the process straightforward, simple, and effective. Welcome back. I'm Andrea Obston. I've been a crisis communications consultant and reputation manager for over 4 decades. I also teach crisis communications, among other subjects, at Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut. Welcome to the second podcast in our series, And Now It's a Crisis. I'll be your host through the unpredictable world of crisis communications, how to protect your company's reputation before, during, and after it hits a pothole. Let's go back to the beginning with the crisis we talked about before the break. Before the kiss cam fiasco at a Coldplay concert, very few of us had ever heard of an enterprise software company called Astronomer. But after their CEO and head of HR were called out with the now famous, either they're having an affair or they're just very shy, almost all of us have heard of them, and not in a good way. More as the punchline to every "did you see?" conversation for a good 48 hours as the internet caught fire and thousands snickered. Astronomer software aims to make its customers more agile and responsive. But where was their response? They said nothing for 24 hours after the video went viral. The company's extended silence opened the door for phony statements, a raft of memes, and spoof accounts that dominated every discussion. For a sophisticated company, their behavior was shocking, but really not unexpected. Like many tech-driven companies before them, they believed anything that's not tech-related isn't essential. That the force of their superior products could obscure everything else, and that if they could just ignore the extraneous non-tech things, they could get back to changing the world. But the internet had other ideas. In the olden days, before crisis media set our minds afire, pausing to get the whole story before putting out a statement really wasn't a tragedy. It seems rather quaint to remember that we crisis managers used to call the first 48 hours the golden hour after a crisis response. You could manage the news. You could selectively feed it to a variety of media that were restricted by their own publishing schedules. Not now. Today's internet makes a golden hour about 48 seconds long. And if you listen to our first episode, you know that causes other issues. Today, a timely response is a must. timely but not knee-jerk. And the definition of timely varies. It's a judgment call. It's based on who's affected by the crisis. Ask yourself, who needs to hear from us, when, and why? So if your chemical plant is on fire, the people who need to hear from you are those inside and near the plant for their own safety. And the message is immediate and includes advice on how they can protect themselves. But if your CEO is caught on a camera in a compromising position, the people who need to hear from you are your investors, your customers, and your employees. And the message is, we're on it, we're handling it, the company and the product will be just fine. And by the way, their snarky commercial featuring Gwyneth Paltrow did none of this. It just reinforced that they were too cool to take the whole thing seriously. Bro culture rules. Nothing to see here, folks. Couple of takeaways here. People expect a response to a crisis as quickly as they hear about it on their phones. You must take control of your reputation before someone else does. And in today's environment, you can count on someone else doing just that. Not responding in a timely manner opens up a space for others to fill with misinformation, memes, and their own theories. People will respond very quickly if you are a villain, a victim, or a vindicator. And changing that is very tough. I know I said that in the first episode, but it bears repeating. It's dangerous to believe the myth that says if you don't respond, they won't run the story, because reporters have to get both sides before they publish. They will publish, with or without you. And they will include the dreaded phrase, unable to be reached for comment. That is not good. The bottom line is this. People expect your company to be aware and responsive to their environment. When things go wrong involving the company, its products, or its people, you must inform the world that you are aware of it. And as we said in the last episode, you need to demonstrate concern, compassion, and competency. And you can't wait 24 hours to do it. A firefighter once told me that a house fire doubles every 30 seconds. Think of a crisis that way. Once it catches fire, the longer you wait, the harder it is to put it out. And the more likely it is to do long-term damage to your company and your brand. Thank you for joining us for the second episode of And Now It's a Crisis. Join us next time when we talk about ways to rebuild trust with customers, investors, donors, and employees after a crisis. Please subscribe and follow And Now It's a Crisis on YouTube, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. See you next time.